So good morning and welcome to Kitty Talks. We share inspirational life stories that empower you to create yours. And today I have with me a really good friend of mine, Sandra Crathern. Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
That's a good way to be. I wanted to bring Sandra on Kitty Talks this morning because although she's a fantastic friend of mine, I am totally in awe of how she has transformed her life. You will hear so much about this wonderful woman's story and journey. And to me, she is an incredible inspiration about how she has come through things like food addiction and drug and alcohol addiction. And now she shows up in the world as a health and wellbeing coach. She's a registered nurse by background. And she has been operating as a health and wellbeing coach for the last 10 years. So Sandra, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
My absolute pleasure.
So do you want to just explain, obviously I've just touched on what you do, but do you want to tell our audience what you do and who you kind of serve in the world?
Yes, I have a very sort of varied type of arena of where I work. So mainly it's one-to-one coaching with clients. Either they come to my home or they are coached by Skype and occasionally by phone. I also go on cruise ships as a speaker and do talks, normally annually, on health and well-being, stress management, effective communication, how to build really healthy relationships. And I do a little bit of corporate work. So I go into companies and talk about stress management mainly. So those are sort of the things that I do most of the time. And my coaching varies from people coming to me with just no purpose, or they want to feel happier in their body, or perhaps they've got some confidence issues or self-esteem issues, or just want some better time management. So you name it, I seem to work with it.
And you obviously specialise in health and well-being, and you have come through the most incredible journey yourself. So, no one is better educated than you to help others who are battling maybe their self-esteem issues or their body issues. So would you mind kind of telling the audience a little bit about your transformational journey and how it all started for you?
Well, I guess I was like a lot of people, just keep on doing my own little thing. I had 3 nice, lovely children that I was bringing up with a husband who worked at the time permanent night duty. And I worked in a doctor's surgery as a practice nurse, actually, for many years. And it was a bit sort of hit the road and run every morning. And that's what I repeated over and over again. So I'd wake up, 3 kids, get them to school, go off to the doctor's surgery. I worked sort of part-time, tell everybody what to do, how to have a happier, healthier life, come home, sort the kids out, be with my husband, and then repeat the same thing. But what I noticed when I was in my 30s was the suggestions I was making to other people were rather hypocritical, because I was smoking and I was running a smoking clinic. I was at least 3 stone overweight and telling people not to charge about shoving food in the mouth and be more mindful, which I wasn't doing. I was in a marriage that was seriously in trouble and about to break down, and telling people to spend more time communicating more effectively to their partners. So I guess, in all intents and purposes, I don't like to call myself disrespectful names because that's just not loving, but I was quite hypocritical because I was telling people what to do, talking the talk, Kitty, and not walking the walk.
And when did that become a problem? Because quite often we're on this treadmill and we're kind of just going through the motions of life. What happened to cause you to change?
Yeah, it's a great question. When people say, did you have an aha moment? And it wasn't really. I just carried on repeating the same behaviour. Started using sort of slimming tablets and was constantly on a diet and drinking a bit too much and going out to nightclubs and feeling sorry for myself, playing the blame game. And my father died 20 years ago, actually this year. And my mum must have detected that I was going off the rails at some level, although I looked like I was holding it all together in all intents and purposes. So she said to me, why don't we go away to a spa? So we went to Champneys Health Spas, which actually I'm now a speaker at, ironically. 20 years ago, she took me for 5 days. Most people don't have enough funds unless you're wealthy to stay in a spa for 5 days, have every treatment going. And that's what we did. October 1997, my mum plucked me out of this sort of unmanageable environment. And I think she sensed I was having a bit of a breakdown. I didn't even notice, to be honest. I was just too into my life. So off we went to Champneys. My father had died of asbestos lung cancer and had a bit of a handout, quite a lot of money. So that's what she used. And that was the first moment where it was about me for the first time in my life, really, where I was able to rest and have reflexology and aromatherapy and treatments, and started to look and think, I don't really love myself. I'm giving out to everybody else, my children, my nursing career, constantly giving. I wasn't really looking at what my needs were. So that most probably was the catalyst of the transformation.
Well, so were you using the kind of alcohol and then the food then as a way of escapism?
Absolutely. So I was using alcohol in the evening. Didn't drink a lot compared to what you think people say is addictive. But I certainly used alcohol as a relaxant. And I actually went into a 12-step program just 6 weeks before I went to the spa. I was thinking about the talk today. I thought I want to be very accurate. So 6 weeks before I went to Champneys, I actually had gone into a 12-step program for addiction. So I'd obviously realised I'd got issues. And then that was sort of like the beginning of it, really, because I was overeating. I was starting to have a little bit of bulimia. And they were all not all the time. It was just sometimes. So I wasn't this addict who woke up in the morning and had to have a drink and binged my brains out. It didn't happen like that. It was very subtle. So it was consistently very subtle. And it wasn't until all those things started to get removed one at a time, because I didn't do it all. I stopped drinking, and then I addressed the cigarettes, and then I addressed the weight, and then I addressed the marriage. So it all was a very slow process over a period of time.
But I think what you're describing is something that a lot of women face, because we're out working, we're out running the household, we're looking after the children. It's quite a kind of easy thing for a woman to do, to lose herself. So it's not, yeah.
And I love that, what you said, I lost myself.
And slowly but surely, by the sounds of things, you had to piece that back together.
Absolutely. I didn't know where to start, to be honest. And I think that's where I have a belief in a power greater than me, a universal belief in something, faith, whatever you'd like to call it. I really felt that I need guidance. I'm powerless over all this lifestyle. I didn't know really where to start. I was constantly blaming other people. Well, if only I'd have had 3 girls instead of 3 boys, if only they helped me, if only my husband understood, if only, what about, rather than take responsibility for some of the choices that I've been making, which was I was a bit of a martyr, actually. I wanted to be the perfect wife, perfect mother, hold it all together. Look, I'm a nurse. Hey, look at me. I can have all my washing and ironing done and dinner on the table. It doesn't matter that I'm nearly burnt out by the time I'd finished my day.
But that's a really interesting point you say about taking responsibility. I think when we have to shift, don't we, from it happens to us, that actually, so like you said, you had to take responsibility, that you were the person really at the core and the center of this.
Yeah, what part did I play? I'm not taking responsibility as in all the, there were things that were being done to me, but why was I allowing that to be? Why was I allowing people to put on me? Where were my boundaries? Where was my authenticity? Where was my ability to say, no, actually, I can't do that. I'm not able to do that. But I can do that. I've learned so much. I wrote a book last year as well, all about it, called Know the Truth, about the tools that I've created. I have tools that help people, myself first and others, in the how do you do that. And the better I take care of me, the better I am on the planet. I now get it.
So is that the advice you'd have because what I love about your journey is you've gone through this massive transformation, and now you help others, so it's almost like your greatest pain has become your greatest gift, because you've taken, rather than let it define you, now use it to help other people who are going through that same experience. what advice would you have? Maybe there's a female listening that is struggling with running her household day to day, and she can't tune into what she's here, her passion and purpose, because she's too bogged down in the day to day running of things. What advice would you have for somebody listening?
Slow down. I think start with the very first thing is just breathe. Take a little bit of time out, just 5-10 minutes, and get a piece of paper and write down specifically what you're challenged with. I have heard a zillion clients come to me and say, I'm so stressed. Specifically, what is it? What are the areas? When I can get some clarity in what areas I'm challenged with, what's going on, then I've got much more insight to see what actions I need to do. What solutions there, what possibilities are there. Stop for a minute. My backside didn't touch the seat. And yesterday for example, I'm in the most amazing marriage now. Oh my God, I'm so happy with this man. I'm grinning from ear to ear because he's been off work for a few weeks and he wasn't very well, but he got better very quickly and he's still off sick, and it's wonderful because he's gardening and we're having coffee. And yesterday afternoon we had all these plans of things to do. We've been so busy. And he said, do you know what? He said, I think we need to stop and listen to our body. I mean, this is a guy who drives a cement mixer, for God's sake. And here I am, the health coach. And I thought, oh my God, he listens. Because I don't preach to him and I just do it myself. I said, what do you think we should do, Gary? I think if I take care of myself and listen to my body, I need to have a nap. And then we can have a takeaway instead of go out to the cinema like we were going to. And then we're going to do some gardening after that. I said, it's a great idea. So at 4:30 yesterday, we went to bed, had a lay down for an hour. He slept, I rested, got up, had a takeaway. Did I want to go to the pictures? Yeah. Did I want to go out for dinner? Yeah. But actually, taking care of myself and slowing down, I knew was the right thing. So I forgot the question now, but that's the answer.
For busy mums, because obviously, that sounds wonderful.
Slow down. You might not get those opportunities. I have no children at home. You have to look at that's unrealistic for someone with lots of children maybe, but you might take the time for a bath. You might be able to get someone to look after your little ones just while you get a bath, and 5 minutes to focus on yourself for a minute. Have a look at your to-do list. How realistic is it? I had these massive to-do lists. I mean, I still can be a little guilty of that, but prioritize, slow down. But first and foremost, start putting yourself first. That's what I would suggest every woman and every man starts to practice. Very difficult because we put our children and we put our holidays and our job and our husband or partner all before ourselves. That doesn't work. If I'm unavailable because I'm burnt out and exhausted and stressed, I'm not going to be so available to give all what they need. I can't meet everybody's needs. I'm fed and rested and watered, and I'm tuned into myself, and I'm really taking care of myself well, then I'm so much more available when I'm communicating more effectively to help others. And me at the top of the list. So those women need to put themselves, I believe, at the top of the list, which I didn't used to do. And that's what I choose to do today.
And when did you know, obviously, after sort of chipping off these different things, different challenges, I like to call them, in your life, when did you know that you wanted to be a health coach?
Well, it was really ironic. I had a really difficult nursing ending. I'm still actually do a tiny bit of nursing. Actually, one of my patients has just died, the last patient I worked with, interestingly enough, but I had been doing some nursing right up to 2 weeks ago. Your question was, when did I realise? Sorry, repeat that question again.
So when did you know that you wanted to be a health coach?
Oh, yes. So I didn't really, it was never something I ever thought about. It was after I'd had some coaching with a coach. By sheer fluke, I met the coach who I work with. Well, I say sheer fluke, there's no such thing. It was orchestrated from the universe, I believe. And I went to a 12-step meeting and met somebody who was a coach. I didn't know it was a coach. And my nursing, I had been suspended from my job. I had had some really terrible situation happen in my nursing. which was all sorted out and got all cleared out. It was quite traumatic. And I went to a 12-step meeting and met this guy, and I just started talking to him, and he was a life coach, an NLP master practitioner, life coach, all accreditations, quantum physics guru, which I knew nothing about. And he coached me. So he didn't make anything better. He didn't tell me what to do. He spent time coaching me. And I was so blown away by the experience of, because also I was under quite a lot of pressure with my marriage at the time. I was stopping smoking and drinking and overeating. Then I had this trauma and I didn't know how to manage it. So his coaching was very therapeutic for me. And then one day I said, what are you doing to me? Because when I leave your house, I feel amazing compared to when I came in. So what is it you're doing? And he told me all about what he did. And I said, I'd love to learn. So I started on a little journey. I did like an open university 6-week course to start with, or 6-month course, just to get a taster. And then I paid a huge amount of money. When my nursing finished in that particular job, it all ended very amicably, and it was beautifully ended. But I sort of feel I was orchestrated to go down that road. It didn't feel like a choice. It felt like the universe wanted me to be a coach. And then I set up my own business and done my accreditations and website and all the things that you do to start your own business. So I was very blessed to have that guy, who to this day is my coach, who's 81.
Wow. And what was he doing in those sessions? What was it that he was doing? Was he...
Well, neuro-linguistic programming is what he was doing. Neuro is your brain, linguistic is words, and programming is about changing behavioural patterns and responses to things, like a study of excellence. That's my understanding. I'm sure there's better interpretations. So I think the most important thing he did at all was listen non-judgmentally. And I'll leave a pause there, because that is a magical thing that anyone can give to another human being. I think he heard me. He didn't judge me. And then he asked me a series of questions that he was trained to do, which I now do myself, for me to go inside. My company is called Innavision, which is all about looking inside. I have the answers. I didn't think I had. I wanted Kitty to tell me, or someone else to tell me what to do. I thought, I don't know. But actually, deep down, I do have the answers. And that's what he explored with this very professional, expert questioning. He was able to get me to dig deep to find out what was really going on for me. And that all transpired into me not only feeling better, but then finding tools within myself to help me manage difficult situations.
Sounds like he was helping you reconnect.
Yeah, it was amazing. The most amazing experience, which I'd like to think that I'm able to offer to my clients.
Yeah, really beautiful. So tell us a little bit more about some of the amazing sort of success stories of people that you've, obviously confidentiality, but anyone who you've worked with who has really blossomed through working with yourself.
Well, one particular comes to mind, who I just finished coaching this morning, who's 90. And he came for coaching to have a healthier relationship with his 78-year-old girlfriend. And that in itself to me is extraordinary.
Never too old.
That's lovely. I mean, his girlfriend particularly has found coaching I've got so many testimonials. I love reading them sometimes, not for my own sense of ego, because it's not about that, but just to see someone have a transformation and improve a relationship is obviously wonderful. So those two spring to mind. I coached somebody a while ago, about 18 months ago, who was a similar age to me, in her 50s, and had a very high-powered job in London, where she worked with a very large team of people and was almost unable to remove her phone from her person at any time, because she was such a
so many people suffer with that now, don't they?
Yes, and we work together. Normally I do 3 sessions with people, and then after that, if they want ongoing coaching, then we discuss it. But generally 3 sessions will, I believe, really take a good look at what's not working for you and how you want to move forward. Very often people love the coaching so much they then go on to monthly coaching. Some people just have their 3 and then they might come back for 3 another time. So they're over 6 weeks. So she had her 3 sessions. She said she found it profoundly life-changing. So she then had monthly coaching, and now she's on bi-monthly, and then I think we're having another session in July. But what was so lovely about her was she invited me to her 50th birthday party and 25th wedding anniversary. And her husband asked her if she'd had any sort of mental breakdown, because within 2 weeks of us working together, she actually left the phone at home in a drawer while they went out for dinner. And he was really worried about her because he'd not known that. So it was quite, I mean, not profound to anybody else. You know, it's a league of her home, but to him, he was like, oh my God, I don't know what Sandra's doing, but it's incredible. So I went to this party actually only a month ago. And it was quite a long trip on the train. And she said, I want you to be there. She said, because if it wasn't for you, my life would not be the same as it is now. It's been transformed. So I went, and she mentioned who I was to people. So that was pretty profound. And one young girl wanted desperately to have a baby. And I said, well, I'm not God. But she felt that a lot of her background was stopping her to get pregnant. I get emotional now. Hold on, bear with me. And she said that, I said, I can't get you pregnant. You know, I'm not God. And we laughed. And then she said, but I think a lot of stuff is resisting me get pregnant because of stuff that's happened in the past. And on the last session, she came to us, just wants to let you know, I'm expecting a baby. And she's had 2 children since then. Now, I don't know. Who knows? She might have got pregnant anyway, a lot of people say, but she believed that it cleared the way for her. I coached a young boy who was 8 once. I didn't get any payment because I don't actually coach children really, but I did it as a friend, just as a friend, to help one of her sons, her partner's son, who was having problems with the parents splitting up, and we did some work. And I said that it was amazing after one session how his behaviour had changed at school just after the one session. So, and I've got many other stories if you want to hear any, obviously I can, but that's
I'd love to go back to the phone conversation, because I think that's a real it's really apt for everybody listening. Apparently, I read an article the other day that says some people check their phone as much as to 270 times a day. So what advice would you have for kind of people listening that maybe technology and the phones have taken over their lives?
Well, I'll tell you a quick story. You know, my son, one of my sons was in a coma, and he kite surfed over Worthing Brighton Pier, and he is an entrepreneurial speaker, and he doesn't have a phone. He doesn't. He won't have one. He did have one, and he had an old Nokia that was so old that it was like a big house brick, and it literally only just took a call and sent a call, didn't do anything else. And bearing in mind, he goes all over the world. He's 32. He's the sort of guy that you'd have all singing and all dancing. I find it very frustrating, if I'm honest, because I do have a phone, and he's supposed to come around this afternoon, fun enough, to help me with something. So I've emailed him with a wing and a prayer, hoping that he will at least get this email. He did say he would come, but he said, Mum, I think they are a curse, and they bring on more stress and anxiety than people would ever know. And I don't know that they're a curse, but I think they can be a curse if you use them inappropriate. Like you said, I meditate in the morning for half an hour every day, which I've been doing for 15 years. And this morning, before I meditated, I checked my email. Now, that's not a great idea, and it's not what I normally do. I'm going to America tomorrow. I thought, I don't want to miss anything. And while I was in my meditation, I thought, that's not a great idea, because that would have been in my mind, that would have been in my cellular level. I could have been anxious about something. So my suggestion is, once you become aware that you do that, be mindful. Don't have it at the dinner table. We have a rule here that if you're sitting eating with us, you don't answer phones. Put it away. Turn it off completely at night, unless you've got somebody who is needing to contact you, an ill person or someone. Be mindful of when you're using it. I do go on Facebook. I'm very disciplined. I have a lot of self-discipline. I only go a few minutes here and there, posting a few minutes. So being mindful and noticing how anxious you feel when you are overdoing it. Generally, your body speaks to you. You'll have an anxiety around it. So I would say all these things are wonderful. It's like anything, if you weigh and measure it. It's about balance. I'm a health coach that is well-being and balance. The computers are wonderful, but if you're on it till 2 a.m, is that really helpful? I'm in bed asleep by 10 o'clock at night. I don't do, If you're a very famous person, you want me to coach you at 11 o'clock at night, I'm not the right coach for you. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm on it.
Yeah.
Morning, give it to me. I'm not such a productive coach. You wouldn't get the best out of me.
But no,
balance it.
I think that's really good advice, because, it's so easy in today's sort of day and age to be surgically attached to phones. And you're right, it's the last thing you want to do first thing in the morning. So very good advice. I think there's a time and a place for mobile.
Yeah. And we're all human. People put me on a bit of a pedestal sometimes. Thank you for saying that you respected my journey, but no more than anybody else. If I did this exactly the other way around, Kitty, there would be things that are phenomenal about you. I think we all have a phenomenal story that's equally as phenomenal as the next person. I really do believe that. We have such potential. Such potential.
Absolutely. But I think what I love is a lot of the people who are coming and being interviewed are, they have had these challenging journeys, but they're now finding a way to serve the greater good. So thank you. I still respect that.
It's exciting because if through something hideous that's happened to me, I can laugh and think, yay, that might help somebody else. One thing my mother said, everyone has a gift when they're born. And I said, my mother's Austrian. I said, what's my gift? Sandra, you've got the gift of the gab. And I thought, oh, wow, I didn't know, only 5. I didn't know what that meant. So I was telling everybody I've got the gift of the gab. And she said, well, actually, it means, my dad went, it's not looking good, Sandra. It means you talk a lot. Yeah, but when I think about it, one thing I have a gift in is I love to tell a story. You'll always remember an amazing story, how someone made you feel, and a brilliant story. And that's something I do. And I laugh at myself, but in a very respectful way. I'm not disrespectful about my journey because it was very challenging for me. And I made some terrible decisions, Kitty, bless me, but I did the best I could. I literally shouldn't be in the same country as my husband, let alone in the same bed. We had so many marriage problems, and we're in such an amazing place today. And I'm so grateful for that. And that's a story people love to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, these things take work. They don't just happen, do they?
They
have to hang in there, but... Thank you so much for listening to Kitty Talks. Be sure to head over to our kittytalks.com website, become a member of our exclusive club, and you'll get free interviews and access to our private Facebook group, exclusive webinars and secret success interviews. See you there.